Chimparachi, the piano-playing monkey.
Piano-playing monkey?
That's right. He takes requests. Play chopsticks.
Hey, monkey! Do you know Superstition by Stevie Wonder? That monkey is not gonna know no superstition. Monkey!
Pretty impressive, huh?
I know monkeys had soul. Watch out! Ow! Writings on the wall. There is superstition. The lot of with his family about to fall. Hey! Look, Uncle Baby. Roses of the land. Take me to the battle. Red days in the past. Hey! It's the evening that you don't understand. And it's superstition ain't the way.
Hey, yeah, what's going on out there, everybody? Woo! Welcome back to another episode of Kenan Kel with Adam and Aaron. I am Aaron.
I am Adam. The end is here. We are at the final episodes of the main parts of Kenan and Kel.
Adam, I wrote a poem to kick us off.
Oh, well, without further ado, a poem by Aaron.
The end is near. The end is here. Have no fear. Orange soda.
I have a poem too. It's called Time by Mark Cram. Tick tock, tick tock.
We are at the end of time in the Kenan and Kel universe, and oh boy, do we have quite the episode to discuss.
Yes.
Or episodes.
The TV movie that Kenan and Kel ended with, Two Heads Are Better Than None. You get the joke? Was later repackaged as 3 separate episodes, but it originally aired as one giant kind of hour-length film.
And I think if we add up the scores of all these episodes, we might get a 10.
If you piecemeal them together.
I don't want to, look at this with the lens of negativity at all, because there's definitely some good Kenan and Kel moments in these 3 episodes.
Yes. I want to start off with the kind of the package that this was sold as, and that this is a horror comedy for kids.
So instantly we have a problem.
Yes, my understanding is that the creators of the show, this episode was penned by Kevin Koppelo and Heath Seifert, were trying to throw an homage back to some of the old comedy duos, because there's a very popular movie from the 40s called Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, which kind of kicked off this subgenre. Well, I don't know that for certain, but it's part parody and part jokes. You see the comedy duo that we all know and love from all these other pictures have been dropped into a horror setting, and when done right, both elements are raised. The horror is a little spookier because it's happening to weirder people, and the comedy is good because they have a lot of stuff to riff on.
At the same time, it's so out of left field in Kenan and Kel world, so much so that it breaks the laws of our universe that have been established for 62 episodes, right?
Yes.
Or is it only 61, technically?
62.
62 so far, and then we have these 3.
Yes. So
Okay.
I agree with you. Is that we have had scathing reviews of the contest because of how it kind of breaks the Kel all of a sudden is a cartoon character.
Right. And here we have, 2 Chicago natives just going out into the wilderness and telling ghost stories, and it just doesn't really seem like it fits their character really that well. But I guess that's kind of why it's funny too, because it's so different, and it's so kind of out of their genre, but then we still see them entertain us and entertain each other inside this world. So I get the point. I get the concept. For the last piece of Kenan and Kel, anything until like the Good Burger sketch on Saturday Night Live, like 10 years later. I don't know, man, but we're gonna find all the good moments. We're gonna find all of the not so good moments, and we're gonna talk about them because that's all we have to do on this podcast.
Yes, we do. So we'll do like Good Burger. This is gonna be 3 pieces of the whole puzzle. So let's get started with the first one. Join Coolio on that big orange couch, and watch this. You saw the Apple TV version, right?
I did.
Great. The intro to this is often cut. Usually it goes curtains open up and you're like in the Rockmore living room.
Okay.
So this is a very rare piece that it was still like maintained for this this version of it.
And Adam, explain me the laugh track, because this had a laugh track, and you
Yes.
said that there's versions that don't.
Correct. I think when it originally aired, there was no laugh track version. Think Zoe 101 in the style of just like the events happen on screen and there's just silence, and I guess it's up to the audience to fill that in.
Yeah.
For repackaging later, they kind of got out the can of laughter and they started popping it because they're like, look, maybe in those first airings, the reviews were, this is too scary for kids. And having those laughs like break things up really helped lighten it.
Right. It helped kind of set the tone, like, oh, that's supposed to be funny. The problem with the laugh track is if you don't laugh, and the audience does, you're like, oh man, this isn't that. So I was feeling that because I was not laughing. I just watched an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia last night from season 15. I was crying laughing. so I mean, I understand that this might not be, this is directed at kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, the laugh track doesn't always hit when you're not laughing yourself.
As I mentioned before, this is also the most artificial version of the laugh track we've seen.
Yeah.
I would say seasons 1 and 2 are the most authentic because that's, a studio audience, a bunch of kids in Orlando, Florida. 3 and 4 is like, it's a little more polished. It's like they seem like a Amanda Show audience, and like, it's there, but it doesn't feel as. There's a lot of breakaways in those first couple seasons. You can really hear them.
Right, but it would make sense that there's no laugh track in this episode because Kenan and Kel walk on stage and there's no audience.
Yeah, the intro, it's weird because this Apple version that's a hybrid of the two sets up that there's no audience, and then you hear an audience, so it's kind of wrong.
Right. I do really like the shot behind Kenan and Kel looking out at the empty audience.
Yeah,
it's kind of ominous, and
it's very
maybe
spooky going into this horror episode.
Maybe a little foreshadowing of the future, which is no more Kenan and Kel audience.
Yeah, that's actually true. There's no more audience seen from here on. They're not throwing out corn dogs or anything.
Yeah, too bad.
They've got some classic Kenan Kel outfits, don't you think?
They do. Yep. Kel's got a little tan sweater with his beige bowler's cap or whatever you call that. Maybe not a bowler cap.
And his shiny pants.
Shiny pants. Yeah, it doesn't really go. And then Kenan's just wearing like a windbreaker, blue windbreaker over just his normal button-down plaid shirt.
Kenan's also throughout this whole movie doing the weird like kind of puffs with his hair.
Yeah, he's got the 2 pigtails with the dreads.
The
short dreads. Yeah.
They're like, whoa, hey, where's the audience? And I think Kenan explains to Kel that we're going on a road trip this episode, so that they're not going to come along.
Kenan at one point drops that there's usually 300 people in the audience.
I thought it was weird they called that out.
Yeah. Oddly specific.
Kel, he's like, I thought this was all the only people that saw our show. We were on TV. And Keith's just like, yeah, we talk about being on TV all the time, man. What do you...
Literally every episode, right?
Yeah, every episode.
And then so Kel's kind of scared that people have been watching him this whole time, which sets up the kind of, hey, let's be scared about this spooky episode.
I do think this is an important component of it. In the same, like, Abbott and Costello vibe, performing in front of the curtain was from.
Right.
Like, that was a tradition that they had, that they would come out and kind of whet the audience's appetite with a little comedy before the show began. So
exactly.
In this one, they whet the audience's appetite with a little horror.
And, I don't know, maybe one of the whole points of this show was to try to, like, show these 2 young black comedians, basically. Mm-hmm. Kind of, like, filling in this new role of television, right? It's like, it's not these older white men who are making everybody laugh. It's these two young, hilarious black men. And I mean, maybe that's the whole point. Maybe we could have a whole episode on that and their impact.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so seeing them kind of, I guess, reenact some of the classic comedy sketches of all time. And so I guess that's kind of what this is with the Frankenstein thing.
I will say I did watch a couple pieces of the Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein to see if there's any parallels or anything like that. And as you might not be aware, they have a very straight man, comedy man dynamic. I think it's neat how Kenan Kel, it's the modern version, so they're both funny in their own way. And they play off each other.
Right, exactly.
We've talked about that for 62 episodes. Let's get into the new material.
Let's do it. If you've ever gone on a vacation with your family, and your father is in charge of the house, then he's also in charge of loading the car and making sure everybody gets out of the door on time, which is probably one of the most stress-inducing environments one could imagine.
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to go on vacation to relieve stress.
Cheryl keeps giving Roger bags, and he keeps complaining when there's more and more bags. And yeah, we've been in this situation a lot. This is part of the reason I was very happy to start this podcast with you early on. Because I'm like, I can't wait till we get to the one where we watch basically our dad on TV. Have to pack a car.
It's all sweaty and everybody's late.
You imagine it's like 7 a.m. and everyone just doesn't want to be up right now.
Yeah, Keenan's like, why do we have to leave so early? And then, we find out that they're driving across the country.
Where are they driving to, Aaron?
Destination unknown.
Yeah, the movie's definitely more about the journey than the destination.
Keenan asks why they can't just take an airplane, and they need the experience of traveling across the country.
And I don't disagree, because we haven't seen Kyra like most of the past few seasons.
Yeah, it's kind of a black hole of the Kenan and Kel universe. Like, what's Kyra up to?
And I will say that her being there does not, like, I don't think she still gets anything to do. I think she still has just as much appearance.
There must have been some issue with her agent or, like, some contracting deal.
The way I understand is that, like, she was, 10, 12, 13 at the time. Usually she was in school when they were filming episodes. So it was a rare day that they were able to get her. Like, that started around season 2, and then they eventually said, like, we're just not going to write her into episodes. We don't need excuses anymore.
That does make sense.
Yeah, so when they got her, it was a rarity at, like, the graduation episode, and, but they got her for this whole movie. I presumably.
And she plays a very insignificant role.
Yeah, she has one moment in the third part. And the rest of it, she's basically just doing her one note of, like, I love Kel.
And she gets a couple callbacks in there, but... Anyways, yeah, so Cheryl throws more bags at Roger. He's going out, and then Kel arrives.
Yes, he's got his own suitcase, and he's like, ready to go.
But this is a Rockmore family vacation, and Roger does not want him to come.
Right. He says, and then Kenan says what his classic line, that if we rewatched the series, I would, like, count how many times he says it, but he says, come on, Pop!
Right.
Let Kel come along, please. And he's like, no.
Absolutely not. This is a Rockmore family vacation.
Smash cut to
Kel's head popping out of the luggage in the back. As
yes.
Kenan has found a way to undo all of Roger's packing and smuggle Kel.
We see it later, but there's enough space back there for a whole, like, Kel and some room. Yeah, so Kenan's, like, cask of Amontillaloing, like, Kel into the back of the car.
Yep. I love what they have packed. They just have suitcases, some, like, blankets and pillows, and then a tennis racket.
Apparently they have a guitar in there, too, somewhere.
Right, apparently. Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, so... what's Kenan's scheme? What's his plan?
First off, let's just say this is not the Rockmore's house that the car is outside of.
No, there's a giant driveway, a big green lawn, and it's like light sky
like
blue
a sunroom.
outside.
Yeah, this is not Chicago. They definitely don't have a driveway.
I was rewatching Ditch the Afternoon recently, and there's a scene where Kel, like, leaps out of the window, leaps out of the door, and, like, you just hear traffic immediately. Same
Right.
thing with Roger on the stretcher and get the Kel out of here.
They pack up Kel. Roger comes out. Kyra does a quick, like, oh, hurry, Dad's coming. Great line there, Kyra. We wish you had more lines. Unfortunately, this is about all you get. And they close the car, and they're on their way.
How would you describe the car that Roger drives?
I think it's a Ford Explorer, 1995.
Yeah, I wrote Ford SUV here. It's like this big
something
silver
like
one.
that.
You can tell there's a Ford logo, but they, like, painted over the blue.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Naturally. There's luggage on top of the car. We got a clip, which is really cool, as like we have the intro credits kind of scrolling across the bottom.
Yeah.
We get a clip of the car with the luggage on top, the family inside, and we see that as soon as they leave Chicago, they are placed in the American West. Some would say the Grand Hills of California.
Kenan's scheme is that he's like, if we get 100 miles away, then Roger will not be able to turn back. Like, we'll be in the clear.
Right, 100 miles is safe.
Yeah, anything else like that, he'll like, do a U-turn. But Kyra cannot shut up about Kel.
She's like, oh, I miss Kel. Poor Kel. Kel. I wonder where Kel is right now. And everybody's like, shut up. Kenan's like, shut up. Cheryl kind of feeling bad. And then we hear from the back, psst.
For some reason, Kel just like blows his cover now and starts making people nervous.
Then he goes, help.
Oh, I guess maybe that's the reason he's like crushed.
Yeah, I know. And I'm looking at these closed captionings here.
Thank you. That's an important
you're welcome.
component.
You're welcome. It's necessary, actually.
Kenan blames the sound on the car. He's like, oh, I think one of the tires is leaking.
Yeah, and so obviously the parents are like, what? So Roger has to investigate. So he's against Kenan's judgment. He stops the car, gets out, looks at the tires, and then, when he's doing this, we have our first instance of what is very reminiscent of a National Lampoon's movie.
Yeah, I get a lot of those vibes from this, don't I?
Because the song that we have playing, basically for the remainder of the time that we see Roger and Cheryl around the car, especially, do 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 do.
Yeah,
just this doofus like kind of
doofus is
gimmicky,
the perfect word for it.
Yeah, it's like this goofball,
this upbeat like rompy like it's way too twee for the Kenan Kel we're used to.
Yeah, so
Kenan Kel is supposed to have cool music, right? It's like Coolio does that's how cool the music is. He does the theme tune and the beats are awesome, but for a lot of this movie, it's just it's a TV movie with like the music budget of like a sandwich shop. Boom.
I know, I hate it. So, anyways, that was a bad. I don't like that. I don't like that part of the movie. I don't like it at all. Also, they're just in California with rolling hills behind. It's so obviously a California sky. It's like all dull and sun bleached. Anyways, while we're stopped, Roger checks tires are good. And then he goes, does anybody want anything from the back? Any snacks?
And everyone's like, oh, no, I don't want a snack. And he's like, well, I'm having a sandwich.
He goes to the back, opens up the trunk, against Kenan's judgment again. A hand reaches out with a sandwich, and he grabs it.
Shuts the trunk.
Goes up to the front, has a seat, and then does the look of realization as he's about to bite into his sandwich.
And the music kind of gives away his thought process, I would say. It's like, da-da-da.
Yeah, meanwhile, Kyra is like holding on to Kenan because they don't want to get in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Roger goes to the back, pulls out all the bags, and he sees Kel, huddled there.
And then, it's really nothing. Nothing is happening except for Kel's getting found out.
Mm-hmm. Kenan, at one point earlier in the car, he's like, you should check in another 43 miles or so. So we didn't hit his destination. But anyway, it doesn't matter because they're basically like, Roger's like, I'll just leave him here. And we can't leave him. We got to take him with us. And he's very reluctant, but he agrees.
Yep, so Kel is now a part of the Rockmore clan. Go figure.
It's weird that, now Kyra's sitting in the back behind them. No seatbelts, no, she's just tucked into the luggage.
She's just tucked into the luggage. Yeah, that doesn't look comfortable for a cross-country road trip.
Yeah, this is the smallest and most frail family member.
I really wish they gave a destination for this trip. Because that could have been so much content.
Well, imagine if they were going to California, then all the destination shooting stuff would be done. We wouldn't have to worry about anything.
It's painful. We see the clip of, Kel sitting in the car with them. He goes, 1 million bottles of orange soda on the wall. 1 million bottles of orange soda.
Yeah, this is the most knowing that Kel has ever been. And I think it's a pretty good bit.
Yep, he goes, 1 million, and then we're kind of doing this montage clip of the car driving down the highway.
The montage is really messed up in the intervals because you keep hearing him start singing different numbers. And so the ones that we see are 1 million, 300,000 and then 20. Before we go to like this last one where he sings 12 bottles of orange soda and then 11.
He does a big number with the 11th one.
Oh, he is belting it.
On the wall. Yep.
The camera like cuts like 3 times when they're on him.
And then he stops. And then Kenan is just livid.
He's like, you're just going to stop at 11?
Like, you counted all the way down from 1 million, and you're just going to stop at 11.
He's like, yeah, I'm tired of that song.
So, oh my gosh. The pain.
What's Roger going to do to kind of lighten up this journey? After them for apparently hours listening to Kel sing about orange soda bottles.
Well, they say that they're tired and they want to stop. But Roger says it's only 6 p.m. Pumpkin. Cheryl says they should get a room at a motel. And Roger says, oh, we're not staying in a motel. We're going camping.
Uh-huh. And then as Kel explains, your dad's just too cheap to buy a room.
Roger just gives him a look because he knows it's true.
Mm-hmm. And so they we transition to them camping, which is I think a really fun set. This is our first like new kind of set of the episode.
Yeah. So the Rockmores are going, it's just us against nature, Roger says. They're going to go experience the great outdoors. And again, I just have such a Clark Griswold kind of vibe from Roger so far this episode. Everything's good. Let's just hop in the car and go on a road trip. What could go wrong?
Yep, man. You're about to see all things that can go wrong with Kenan and Kel.
So Kel's eating sticks because he doesn't really go to nature very much because he's city folk.
Yeah, it's a shot of him like, looks like he's roasting something with a fire. And I think Kenan asks like, what you cooking? Sticks. And he bites into it. It's a fun bit.
Yeah, he actually is seen eating sticks throughout the rest of the episode.
Kyra's like cuddling up against him. He's like, isn't this romantic? He's like, no.
Kyra's character could have been so much more developed.
What does Roger pull out to make their evening fun?
A good old guitar.
Yes. And I will say, this I think is the one bit that the laugh track kind of ruins a little bit, because in the original, it's just, you just hear him singing. And it's almost spookier than it needs to be. But yeah, Roger pulls out his guitar and he plays a little tune.
Home on the Range.
And
this part had me cracking up. I will say this was the funniest part of the three episodes. Roger pulls out this guitar and just sings in this like beautiful melodic voice that is not his.
No, it's
not anybody that looks like him singing this. Right
yes, absolutely, you're correct.
It's just this old like white man.
Home on the range.
Yeah, and it is just beautiful. And everybody is just giving him this look like, what?
And at the end, Cal's just like, man, that stunk.
Yeah, that was about the funniest moment of this. That was hysterical. the first of a couple classic tunes we hear this episode.
Oh yeah, this is the musical one of the 3, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then suddenly, from behind Roger, jumps out a man.
And what does he want, Adam?
And he's like, hey, can I trouble you for some ketchup?
Adam, what's this man look like?
This is the yellow outfit. This is the green outfit.
Green shirt, khaki pants, yellow fanny pack, and then the jacket.
Yes.
He's got this brown, yellow, and white jacket with all these pins on it.
Yeah, this man is clearly a traveler, and he introduced himself as Sheldon Wilson.
Yes. And then he's just standing there. And then up from behind him pops a woman.
Dressed in the exact same way. The same matching outfits, these two.
She just goes, hi! Everyone's like, ah!
I'm Shelley Wilson. We're the Wilsons, is what they say.
And it's terrifying, to be honest.
So they give him some ketchup, and they love having received this ketchup, don't they?
Thank you so much for the ketchup.
Yeah. Come on, Shelley. And it's like, wait, you're both Shelley? Yes.
Yeah.
We're both Shelley Wilson.
These are great folks right here, but very creepy.
Yes, I think it does a good job starting to dip our toes into this, because right after this, Roger proposes, why don't we tell some ghost stories?
Exactly. So Shelley's leave, Yeah, they're like, if you need anything, just holler. Ha 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 ha. And everybody's kind of a little bit spooked by all of these things that are happening.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Roger's playing music. Okay, we got the Shelleys. So the plot's kind of progressing. Okay, good. And then we start our ghost stories. Go ahead, Adam.
Kenan is actually opposed to telling ghost stories. I'm checking out my notes here and see how this tracks with the rest of the series about how much of a scaredy cat Kenan has been in the past. Because I feel like it often changes between Kenan and Kel who's scared of what.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But Kenan is definitely scared. He's averse to these ghost stories. But Kel wants to be involved and included. So what does Kel do here, Adam?
He tells a story. So I have it here. He goes, when the bread popped out of the toaster, no one knew what to put on it. Jelly, margarine, cinnamon sugar. I suggested butter. Crumbs were everywhere. And then Kenan interrupts him.
Oh, this is probably the most iconic moment
From the-
of this movie. Maybe the latter half of the series.
what does Kenan shout at him?
Kel, we said ghost story, not toast story. Oh.
I don't know any ghost stories. So Roger starts weaving a fable about the bloody cemetery.
Yes, that's Roger Story's name. Kenan gets so scared by the name of it, just the name of the bloody cemetery, that he screams, gets up, and then he goes away. And they're like, I don't know where he's going, because
He says that he mumbles that he's going to get more wood for the fire, even though it's burning perfectly well.
yeah. And then they call him a chicken. He goes, I'm a vegetarian.
And he kind of goes out into the woods. I in my notes it says that in Safe and Sorry, Kenan's a bit of a scaredy cat.
As is to be expected from organized crime.
Yes. I do want a quick flashback to the year 2000 when this movie came out. I was a young boy of 7 when I first witnessed
A young
this.
lad. A
Yes.
wee lad.
And I will say that I don't know if I saw this whole thing in kind of one sitting the first time I saw it. I recall seeing maybe up to I would call it where this first episode ends. And there's honestly that's a bad way to see a horror movie as a kid, because you don't get any resolution. Sometimes you end on a scary cliffhanger, and this movie frightened me a little bit as a child.
Yeah, this is a spooky shot right here with Kenan walking in the woods by himself with just all he has is a lantern, and then there's fog kind of filling up the trees.
Yeah, he's in this clearing, and it's very spookily lit.
Spookily.
As you see him in the foreground, it looks like a knight crosses his path. Someone in a suit of armor.
Hold on, he says, I don't want to hear no ghost stories. And then he stops, looks around, he's all by himself, and he says, well, this spot isn't exactly not scary.
Yes.
Which he says exactly what we're all thinking. We're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
If you're scared, why are you walking out in the woods by yourself?
Exactly. I get the idea of kind of remove yourself from the ghost stories. I don't even want to start thinking about them. But yeah, no, this is not a good. This is not a good solution.
Yeah, and he goes, Shelley's? Monster? Mommy? And then his lantern dies.
As his lantern dies, he gets scared by a stick sound, and he kind of drops to the ground.
The stick falls on him, and he just kind of
yeah.
freaks out.
Yeah, so he looks up from the ground, and he sees a suit of armor towering over him. And what's unique about this suit of armor, Aaron?
It has no head. Or it's holding its head.
Yes. And the voice that it says in a very spooky voice, I want your head.
Whoa. Whoa. Yep, that's pretty spooky.
Yeah, and Kenan books it and runs away. He runs back to the campfire where Roger's mid-story.
And he explains what's happening. He's like, there's a knight over there. He has no head. He wants my head. And Roger's kind of upset that he cut off his story to start telling his own story.
Yeah, that's what Roger says. A lot of them teasing Kenan, maybe he went back to his castle.
Right, yeah, ha ha, very funny, Kenan.
And they're very all right, let's go see this knight. And then they go into the clearing, and Kenan follows them.
Kenan's like, well, I don't know if we should do that. But they go anyways.
This is one of my favorite lines from Kel, where he says, Kenan, I believe you, even if you are lying.
That is a good Kel line.
They're walking around, they're not seeing anyone. Who pops out and scares them?
Cheryl.
Yes.
dressed as she kind of like lifts her turtleneck over to hide her head. It was pretty funny. It's like she's just razzing him, and then Kel hits her on the head with the guitar.
Yep.
Not Roger this time, but Cheryl.
That's a fun change up for the movie.
Sure.
This does feel like a super duper mom prank, doesn't it?
Kind of, yeah. It definitely feels like a Cheryl prank.
Yeah. Good
I
job.
feel like they're
for
still
her.
kind of in the pranking mode from April
Fools. Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. So, yep, that happens. And when that happens, Kenan's still scared and he runs away into the background. And you see him crash into a tree.
Yeah. That was funny. I like that moment.
Yeah.
And that was like a lot happened right there, right? Like Kenan brought them out and they were about to like see this creature or this person. And then Kenan hits his tree and then we cut back and we're in the car the next day.
Yeah, no, we jump right back to the car. Like, the spookiness is over.
Like 2 people were knocked down in the middle of the woods at night. And we're just kind of like, let's just move past it.
If I was the Headless Knight, that would be the perfect time to strike.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, we got, Roger and Kel already destroyed his weapon.
But Adam, the Headless Knight was just an apparition, right? It was just a vision that Kenan saw. It wasn't real, was it?
I don't know. Let's learn more.
So mysterious.
I do think, like, up until this point in the movie, this is a pretty good, like, it's doing a good job.
Yeah, so far, we're good.
Yeah. Yeah, in the car, like, Cheryl's got an ice pack on her head. I almost said Roger, because, like, it's usually Roger with the ice.
It is usually Roger.
And then Kel's like, at least you slept well.
Yeah, meanwhile, they're still driving through the same scenery. And Kel is just chomping on some sticks.
And Cairo's actually something for her to do finally. She points out some signs on the roadside for a museum.
Yes, it's called the Believe It or Else Museum.
Wait, that's a funny riff on Ripley's Believe It or Not.
I do like that a lot. It kind of gives me south of the border vibes. I don't know if you've ever driven south on I-95, Adam, but once you get to South Carolina to North Carolina border, or North Carolina to South Carolina, in South Carolina there's this giant, terrifying looking theme park that's enormous. And it just looks like people get murdered there all the time. But it's got this giant sombrero, and it's called South of the Border. And it's never open. But there's always people there.
Yeah, it's weird.
And it's terrifying. So
yeah. This was a big 90s staple, especially, too. The roadside attraction.
Yeah, sure.
But the Goofy movie had a lot of riffs on this. I think Kel is especially, like, shouting, like, you won't believe your eyes. I don't want to believe my eyes. I want to believe my eyes.
Yeah. And so we pull in, Roger pulls in the car, and we see instantly a giant fire hydrant, like a cool looking car, and then just like all this other random stuff. We got flags, we got like a carnival type thing, big signs.
You hear carnival music playing.
No place on earth like it here. And we just think you kind of get this feeling that we're gonna get a little Kenan and Kel action here.
I think this is a good stuff for a Kenan and Kel road trip.
I think so too.
Yeah. But first, they pull into the parking lot, and who's right next to them?
Shelley.
Yep.
The license plate says this is Shelley. It's
Shelley.
a station wagon. It's got a bunch of bumper stickers, as is to be expected.
I wrote a couple of them down here.
Go ahead.
We have Pets Are People Too. I Break for Animals. I Heart Bowling.
Yep.
Save the Snails.
Yep. That's my favorite.
Honk If You Love Something. I couldn't make out the rest, but my favorite is I Heart Bumper Stickers.
Yep, that's a good one. And it's the Shelleys. They're wearing these horrible bowling shirts, unbuttoned, with orange shirts underneath, and then yellow fanny packs. I do love their energy. They're great human beings right here.
They're a lot of fun.
If you're gonna travel the country, might as well be as happy as these two.
And they, as you mentioned earlier, they add a creepiness. It's like they're well utilized in that regard. Yep, they go there and they're like, "Oh yes, thanks for the ketchup."
We really appreciate it.
Saying it way too many times for the Rockmores liking.
We were talking in the car about how that was such a nice gesture. We're like, okay, lady, calm down with this.
I don't know. Once you said that, it's like, I've met this person before. Like, we have people like this in our family.
There's definitely people like this around, yeah. Yep, so Adam, what do we see when we go inside?
Dinosaur statues.
And a giant mermaid.
Yeah. There's some neat things. We see a sign later that kind of points to a couple attractions. But the main thing is that Kyra wants to see the Upside Down room and takes Roger and Cheryl.
Right. And there's a lot of people in here.
Oh, it's packed.
These places are not this packed.
No, they are not.
Shelly and Shelly call over Kenan and Kel, which I like this because it's like the four of them standing in front. There's all these kind of people behind. And they say, hey, look, it's Chimparachi, the piano-playing monkey.
And you see this monkey in the little suits. And I think Lady Shelly shouts, play chopsticks. And he does.
Oh, he takes requests, they say. And then, he plays chopsticks.
Yeah, so it's... And this is a great joke. This is might be one of my favorite bits of the movie.
This is pretty fantastic right here.
Yeah, because Cal shouts, hey, can you play Superstition by Stevie Wonder?
And then Kenan's like, man, that monkey's not going to know Superstition.
And he goes,
and then the lights dim, disco ball turns on, and everybody's just kind of like starting to vibe a little bit.
Is dancing and singing to Superstition. Kenan Kel and the Shellys are all singing Superstition.
Riding on the wall.
Yep.
It's awesome. It's such a great. Because there's so many people in this place.
Yeah.
And
I also you see a couple shots like clearly someone wearing like monkey gloves, like playing the piano. So it's a good bit. I would say. Of the three chimpanzee bits of Kenan and Kel, this is the best one.
Yeah, it really is one of the greatest Kenan and Kel moments. I mean, they're dancing to... It's so Kenan and Kel. Like, it's so just absurd and hilarious. But because it's in this universe with them, we're just like, yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's funny because these are all things that we've heard them allude to that happens to them on their adventures. Especially in like season 1, like when Cal's like, I was naked, like running, like glued next to the train, and the giraffe was giggling at me, and like, aha, yeah, right. And then, but now we actually see in a future episode they said, remember that time that monkey like played the piano?
Exactly right. Kel goes, man, I didn't know that monkey had soul. It's like, yes.
So what attraction do they see next here?
Kenan and Kel are like walking through the halls, and they're like, very superstitious 13-month-old baby, 7 years of bad luck. Just,
they're still dropping lines.
But then they walk into this room, and it's the world's biggest ball of string.
It is. It's surrounded by a bunch of like mirrors too, which I thought was a very cool effect. Yep.
Kenan kind of walks around while Kel's reading the plaque. Because Kenan's not impressed.
No, Kenan doesn't care. He's like gets all sarcastic. He's like, "Ooh, wait, what does he say?"
Gee, I've been dreaming of this moment my entire life.
So tell me about this ball, Aaron. What are some facts that Kel lists off?
It's 17 feet high.
Mm-hmm.
It's 1,000 pounds. And Kel just has to touch it.
Yes, he does. This is I will just point out I gave it a quick search. In Gawker City, Kansas, they have the biggest ball of twine, which is 11 foot in diameter. So this one in the movie is even bigger than that one.
Yeah, it's even bigger, and
but somehow it's lighter because that one's like 9 tons.
I think this is kind of a gimmick because there's a lot of places on like certain highways in the West that claim to have these massive attractions,
Absolutely,
and they could easily be lying about. And a lot of them probably do, just to get people to come in. It's like, oh, you got to see the world's largest shoe.
Again, these feel like a bunch of notes, like on the board for them to have, like Kenan Kel road trip. Yeah, so they connect the dots and they did this. So what does Kel do?
Kel climbs over the rope, and then we see this really cool shot of Kel like touching the ball of string, and then in one of the mirrors you see Kenan like kind of on the other side of it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That was a really cool effect.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. And then Kel is all feeling it up. He's like, I don't even know. It's like,
I gotta give it a hug.
He goes, how does it feel? Stringy? And Kel goes, no, it's so solid.
Yep.
And then he has to hug it. He pushes it, and instant chaos.
The ball starts rolling. We get to see some slow motion shots of Kenan and Kel, like Indiana Jones in it from it.
Yep. It right away, the ball goes right through this drywall and just demolishes an entire wall.
Yeah. And I don't know the name of the song, but it's all like dun 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 da 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 dun.
Yeah, da 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 da. You know, like that classic, the most classical song ever.
We see as it breaks through the wall, it like very briefly it hits a stand. Do you see this of a guy selling pinwheels?
No.
It's a blink and you miss it. It's an employee of the roadside stand selling pinwheels.
Ah,
He's got a yellow shirt on that says "Believe it or else."
oh, that's cool.
Now sold at the Rockmore and Kimball.
Oh yes,
I knew I'd find one in the movie.
that's awesome. Oh, there it is. I see it. Yeah, believe
Yeah.
it or else.
So yeah, if you want to purchase that store, go to tpublic.com/Kenan Kel podcast.
Yep. So yeah, great catch there, Adam. And nice job with that design. We have really like this giant string ball now just demolishing a giant hole in this Believe It or Else museum. It so much so that it breaks through, goes outside, destroys this stand outside, and then makes its way down the road. And there is now a giant ball of string just rolling down the highway.
They don't resolve this either. So you can hypothetically say this ball is just rolling forever in this Kenan and Kel world.
Yeah, it's still rolling.
Long enough to reach to the moon. It's just that's how long it's gonna roll. You see a car that's like driving right towards it as it's rolling down the street. I feel like that car like wasn't able to make it in time.
I feel like that was an accident. Like that was a filming accident. Like they rolled it down and they didn't block.
Get
Oh my
off
God,
the
there's no
road.
cars coming.
Well, you don't see any destruction. It's a TV movie, so they don't really have the budget to show a car getting destroyed.
What if they did? That would have been my favorite part. They just destroyed a car.
Well, I guess what I'm alluding to is then canonically, Kel would have killed someone in Kenan and Kel.
No, what if you saw people dive out of the car? No, that's probably, you can't show that to kids.
No, so I mean, there's some horror stuff in this movie that they definitely show to kids.
Yes, it's way worse than this. It gets way worse.
Absolutely. Anyway, they go back inside to see Roger, Cheryl, and Kyra.
I love that. They go back inside after they absolutely destroyed half the museum.
Yeah, no, I think they're trying to play it off like it wasn't them. You see a sign behind them that like lists like, it's Chimperachi, the biggest ball of twine, but it also says, two-headed goat. I mean, those two things were real. There's probably really a two-headed goat there.
Probably. Kenan and Kel then stumble upon this exhibit called The Legend of the Headless Knight.
I think it's a pretty cool exhibit because it's just something in the corner, and it's also like the bogus museum, right? Although actually, now that I'm thinking about it, everything that they advertise in here that we see is real. Mm-hmm. Chimperachi is real. The ball of twine, and the Headless Knight is also real. As we go to
Adam,
learn.
this is no roadside stand. This is the Believe It or Else museum. Believe it or else. It
It's
tells
a
you
museum.
it tells you in the title.
And actually, that does allude to the Headless Knights. If you don't believe him, you're in trouble.
That's right, because he's coming for you. Fast as lightning.
You see the suit of armor with like a banner above it and like a little. I like the little what do you call it? Pieces of paper that
Right.
tells you information.
Yeah, Kenan goes up and grabs him real quick because he's afraid of the suit of armor. He starts to read it then. It says here that hundreds of years ago, this knight lost his head in battle, and now he chops off the heads of innocent victims and wears them as if they were his own.
Yep, and then he eats the bodies.
It's terrifying.
That's very, very scary. They didn't use pre-existing monsters for this. They wanted to make one for this, this series. We'll get into it later, but I think that this pitch that they have right now is that's pretty spooky.
Pretty spooky. Also, it's stupid because they're in the American West and they're talking about legends of knights.
Yeah, I get the Headless Knight image and concept. It makes a lot of sense to me, but it make way more sense to have like a cowboy ghost than because there's no castles here. There's no medieval wars.
And this is kind of like, well, okay, so I know it's scary and everything, but it's also like just you're putting Kenan and Kel in the American West and you're asking them to be afraid of a knight. Seems a little like just not on brand.
If this was a European trip,
Yeah,
this
right.
might be like a different story.
Yeah.
He's interrupted by one of the employees. He's got a name tag that says Mitch on it. And I love this guy. You see him for like 5 seconds.
Yeah, he's very creepy. He's as creepy as the Shelleys.
Because I think like it's like Cheryl's like telling him like, well, will you please tell him this is made up? And he's like, I could, but I won't.
Because it's true.
Yes. Good job, Mitch. You did a really good job on this one.
Yeah, and then he's like, okay, see ya.
All right, we have to close now.
Does he say anything about where they should stay away from?
No.
Okay.
I think Kenan reads that there is as recently as a year ago, the Headless Knight was spotted in a town called Rockville.
Right, there you go.
Yeah, so that's our first allusion to Rockville.
So anyways, we are now at a motel.
Yep.
So I do like that in the first episode, this progression of days is pretty nice. You know, it's like very good pace. Like, okay, we're moving along. It's one thing after another. We see Kel in his jammies opening up his suitcase to reveal.
Hang on, those are not Kel's jammies.
Oh.
Kel is wearing Kenan's Technicolor Dreamcoat pajamas. Remember from what was it? To Catch a Thief?
Oh man, great catch.
Yes, he's wearing that exact same one, and it makes sense because he didn't pack, as we're about to see, he didn't pack clothing. So he's wearing Kenan's pajamas.
Yeah, he didn't pack clothing, Adam, but what did he pack?
He opens up his suitcase, inside is a suitcase, and he opens that up, inside another suitcase, and inside that suitcase is 2 liters of orange soda and an umbrella.
Kenan's like, what? Well, like, why did you pack a suitcase inside of a suitcase? And he goes, well, I didn't want to lose it.
Yeah, in case I lost one, you know? I thought it was weird that Kenan Kel got their own motel room.
Yeah, especially if Roger's trying to save some money.
Well, I get why Roger, like, after such a bad camping trip, you can like read in between the lines that Cheryl definitely like, got on his back and like, don't be cheap, buy a motel, please.
Right. I wish they showed that though. You know, like I wish they kind of just included that in there.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, I'm just interpolating the rest of the episode here.
Interpolating. That's nice.
Thank you. A math term for you. Kel says to him, all right, good night, Kenan. And Kenan is upset by that.
Yeah, please don't say that word. I don't want to hear anything else about nights. Bad night, headless night, no night. You know that theory about dreaming, that like if you think of something before you go to bed, you have a dream?
Yes, I've heard of that. I do not. That is purely fictional for me. The opposite happens to me personally.
Yeah, it's just something that is happening throughout the day.
Yeah, little things that I encounter is the way I dream. Does that happen to you? Do you think, like, if you're lying in bed and thinking about something, will you dream about it?
If you experience something, you're likely to dream about it. That's how I, because it as you experience something, like your body remembers, your body experiences it, thinks it, whatever, or might you just have the thought or whatever, the anxiety. But what is anxiety? It's a thought that's goes into your body and becomes an embodied emotion, and then your subconscious is what comes up in your dreams. So if something is present in your subconscious, it's likely to take over your dreams, so to speak.
That's very much my experience. It's not like if I'm ever lying in bed and like thinking about something, time to think about space, like a space adventure. I don't dream that. Like
no, that's not how it works.
No. Kel speculates about the Headless Knight as they're lying in bed.
Yep.
He's like, how do you think he chops off the heads?
What do you think he does with the bodies when he's done eating them?
Yeah, what's it with the bones, you think?
Kenan's like, I don't want to hear about the Headless Knight chopping off people's heads or what he does with the bones.
Or what kind of car he drives.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
All right, fine, Kel goes. Nighty night. He goes.
Yeah, that's very good.
And then I'm very happy about this next part, Adam.
This might be one of my favorite sequences of the whole movie.
Go ahead. Why don't you explain what happens here?
The door bursts open, and a red light pours into the motel room. Kenan kind of gets up and inspects it. He looks out the door, but you don't see anything what's in front of him. You see what's behind him. It's the Headless Knight. He's standing there, and you see Kenan reach behind him and grab him. Then he reaches where the head is, and he gets real scared.
Yeah, he does.
And he wakes up.
Or does he?
Because the door is open, and there's a red light there, and there's a silhouette of an axe-wielding knight. And it cuts this Kenan's face, and he screams, and Adam turns off the TV at age 7, and is wondering for several years, what thinks that Kenan got chopped up. It's just a very spooky bit.
And at the bottom it says to be continued.
In the re-airing.
Oh.
So yeah, we go to commercial.
There we go. We're in the commercial. And then we're in the end of the episode.
Do you think that that's a very spooky ending cliffhanger?
I think so. Yeah, that's pretty spooky. I mean, right now I'm like, oh, obviously it's a dream inside of a dream. Inception, obviously. I've seen Inception. This is nothing new. Kenan and Kel actually came up with the idea, inspired the idea for...
They incepted Inception is what you're saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. I've had that too myself, like when you're coming out of a dream. And like reality's still not quite there yet.
Yep.
I've witnessed that, but it's a very spooky way of showing it, and it's a scary image for kids.
I think so. So this first episode was really good. It was really well put together. It like set up, the expose is really good. The character introductions are really good. Everything's solid.
I guess tune in to see where things go.
Yeah, we have to figure out what happens next.
Join us for part 2, Fantas.
We'll see you next week. You have to wait. Haha, you have to wait.
Yeah, we're doing them all in one sitting.
Yeah. Ha 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 ha. Okay. Yeah, hopefully Kenan doesn't die. That'd be terrible. But the show is over, so who knows?
It's 2 episodes of Funeral.
Yeah. That'd be tragic.
But Kenan's played by the Headless Knight, who's like taking over his body. All right, we'll talk later.
All right, everybody. Until part 2, to be continued. Nighty night. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Kenan and Kel with Adam and Aaron. If you want to stay in touch, send us an email at KenanKelPodcast@gmail.com, or you can send us a voice message at anchor.fm/KenanKelPodcast. Our social media accounts are all at Kenan Kel Podcast. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Thanks, everybody.